So today we're here with
Scott Mcelravy.
Scott Mcelravy. Scott, where are you from?
From Greenup, Illinois.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I'm from Greenup. Greenup and Toledo combined make up Cumberland High School. So I'm from your area, actually. Greenup's about an hour and 30 minutes from Fairfield.
So tell me about your siblings, your family, and who are your parents' names?
Okay, Mom and Randy and Sandy Mcelravy. I have a brother, Greg, who lives in that area, and then a sister, Joni. They both live in Jewett, Illinois.
So you went to Cumberland High School, of course. What year did you graduate?
Graduated in 1990.
Did you play any sports in high school?
Yes, I ran cross country 3 years. I played basketball and baseball both 4 years.
Talk about your teammates and your coaches.
Well, ironically, in basketball, my 7th grade coach was Dave Scott. My 8th grade coach was Dave Scott. He moved up to fresh soph when I was a freshman, and then sophomore through senior, he was my varsity coach. And he was my baseball coach for 4 years. So that might be a record statewide of having one coach all the way through, but great guy. I see him every once in a while and talk to him. So yeah, that was my coach. I had Mike Schmidt and Jim Miller as my coaches for cross country.
Wow. Talk about the success you've had in high school.
Well, ironically, I wasn't super big, and so I had a couple friends get me to run cross country, and actually at Cumberland, that's a big thing. They've had a lot of success over the years in cross country. My junior year, we got 8th in state. We had a runner, Doug Light, was his name when I was a sophomore, got 2nd in the state. So they've had a lot of success over the years. And I kind of just did that because I had friends doing it, and I thought it'd get me in good shape for basketball.
So where did you attend college, and what year did you graduate from college?
Started out, went to Lakeland College for 2 years because I wasn't for sure what I wanted to do, then moved over to Eastern. Graduated in 1994 with a degree in zoology, which is biology. Started grad school thinking I would go into exercise phys. I think they had a year-long program there, a master's program, and then apply for physical therapy school. Started coaching or helping coach Charleston Little League Baseball in the summer, and then taking my education classes, and then the rest is history. I became a teacher and a coach.
So on to coaching. Where have you been, of course, and who have you coached with? That's
a short list too. My first job here at Fairfield, 1998, and I'm still here. I started out as the freshman coach. Tim Pearson was our head coach. We had a couple of JV coaches there in between, Ron Weimiller and John Green. I was the freshman coach for 4 years, the JV coach for 3, and then I've been the varsity coach for 15.
So you altogether have been here for 23 years.
Yep, that's a while.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
So deep down, tell me about the process of becoming the Fairfield basketball coach.
Yeah, I was glad that for me, I started from the ground up. It wasn't one of those get out of college, work a year as an assistant, and then jump into a head job. I wasn't ready for that, I didn't think. And I thought Coach Pearson did a really good job of helping me out, once he was ready to be done, giving me the chance to be, the coach here. Ron Weimiller's the Benton coach. Now he was here for a couple of years. Still, we lost to them in the regionals last year, so still see him a lot. And then John Green was here for a couple of years. He is the superintendent, I think, at Meridian High School down south now.
So what are you teaching here as of now, too?
Teach biology 1 and 2. So it's just general bio, and then the bio 2 is mainly anatomy and physiology. So that's kind of going back to my physical therapy desires at the time, maybe. I don't know.
How do you teach and coach at the same time? That's
tough, especially being a science teacher. You're constantly having to get here early or stay late to set up labs and that sort of thing. I like it. There's a lot of coaches that are PE teachers or history teachers or driver's ed or that sort of thing. But actually, myself and JV coach, we're both science teachers here.
Really?
So yeah, I don't know if there's another pair out there like that. Adam Book is my JV coach. He's been my JV coach every year. So you want to talk about loyalty, great guy, and all that. That says a lot. And I've only had a couple freshman coaches. So our turnover rate here in basketball, and then even in our sports in general, Coach Townsend's been our football coach for as many years as I have, and then Coach Conrad in girls basketball. We've had a lot of longevity with our coaching staff here.
Describe how the community has welcomed you here when you started, and obviously for 23 years now, compared to now and beginning? How has it been such a big, huge happiness for you?
Well, I was just blessed when I started out of getting the chance. Once again, I put in 7 years at the under levels, with the freshmen in the JV spots, and my first year we got to the regional finals, got beat by a good Mount Carmel team here. The next year we won a regional, and then we went a few years before we won again. We've won 3 total in my time here. Fairfield's a passionate community, and they love their basketball, and like we talked before, they travel. When you're winning, they travel, and they support you really, really
like
well.
No other.
We have a great fan base here.
Yes.
And that's something that's really special when you come out, and it doesn't have to be senior night for our gym to be full.
What's your favorite part to coaching?
Wow, back when it started, Coach Pearson, when he was getting close to done himself, he said, my most favorite time is practice time with the kids. And back at the time, I'm like, no way. Tuesday and Friday nights, the gym's packed. We're playing in the Charleston Holiday Tournament or the Capital Classic or whatever. No, those are the best times. But as you get older as a coach and go through it, your practice time is special with the kids because you don't have, 1,000 people in here, telling them what to do, telling you what to do, or the referees. It's just you working with the kids and your other coaches, and I've really grown to love practice time.
What are some obstacles you face while coaching?
Well, you never know, and I've learned this especially the last few years, where or what kids are dealing with, in their personal lives. We expect them to be here at 10 o'clock every Saturday morning, go 10 to 12 or 12:30, and you don't know possibly what, maybe going through their mind or family situations that they go through. That's been a good learning thing. Balancing a family. My wife started out as a social worker, came back and said, hey, I think I'm gonna go to nursing school. Oh, by the way, we had 2 boys at the time too. So we're juggling all those things. And so, trying to find the right balance with your family. They've got to be supportive. They can't be, they've got to be willing to, come to the gym and watch the games, and got a great wife and 2 kids.
That can't be easy.
It's not, but them growing up in the gym, I don't think my boys would want it any other way.
So what sports have you all coached?
Well, I have coached cross country, going back to when I ran. I've coached boys and girls track, and then I've coached basketball.
Wow. Name some notable teams that you've coached here at Fairfield.
Well, the last couple have been pretty good. The last 2 years we've went 28-5 and 32-3. We'd won a couple regionals before that with like Coach Lackey, it's really neat that I see the turnaround with that. One of my former players, is now our freshman coach. Him and then my second year coaching, a lot of those guys are still here. I've got a couple. I've got one that's on the police staff. And it's just neat. We've had quite a few good teams over the years.
Talk about some of the players you've coached.
Well, I'd say the best overall, people would say, is Nathaniel Lackey from about 6 years ago. He 6'8", second team All-State player. He's a math and teacher here for us now, but we had plenty over the last few years, in the 2 teams we've had, and it's hard for me to single out all of them because I don't want to forget anybody. Our last couple years have been pretty special though. So all of those guys, you could go down the list: Giselle, Brian, Kane, White. Just on down the list.
I know the success you've had has been very, very good down here, Scott, but I did want to hit on Brian and Giselle a little bit. Talk about them as not only leaders, but as people or humans in general.
Great guys. I always, when I have guys that play for me, I always kind of look at how they treat my 2 boys. And my son Noah is going to be a senior this year, so he was a sophomore taking beatings. Who he had to guard every day in practice was Giselle. And Giselle, made him better. But he also was around him and Wyatt to offer up advice or support when Dad's getting on son and that sort of thing, and trying to tell him, this is why he's doing it and that sort of thing. But Brian, just a goofy, great kid.
He's tall,
very athletic. I don't think we'll ever coach another kid that had, I think he had 23 dunks his senior year. He made it a lot of fun. Those groups, like I said, you could go down the line 1 through 15, just a lot of really good kids and a lot of fun.
Talk about your assistants.
Mentioned Adam earlier, Adam Book. He's a Fairfield guy. His claim to fame, his junior or senior year, was beating the Wooden Shoes, who were state ranked up at the Charleston tournament. I think it was his senior year actually, but he's been my assistant for all 15 years. I mean, I can't thank him enough. You know, the only thing I have a problem with is he's a St. Louis Cardinal fan in baseball.
I like you already, Scott.
Most of the people around here are, believe me. Great support. Relates great with the kids. You know, my freshman coach, Chet Snyder, for the first 8 or 9 years, he's our volleyball coach, highly successful, great person. Then we had Scott Foster, who was on our Elite 8 team for a year or two, and now we have Coach Lackey, who played for me. So, you know, in 15 years, that's all I've had with me. I've had a few, you know, offer up volunteer support and that sort of thing, but I've loved the guys that we've had. I mean,
people don't realize the amount of time put in by assistant coach to help out the coach. The decisions that come from an assistant, helping out. That's not an easy job to do.
Not an easy job, and you don't just show up at 10 for 10 o'clock practice, or you don't leave at 5:30 when you're done in the evening. And you know, all my coaches have families too, aside from Coach Lackey. He's still a young guy. So you know, balancing that family time with, you know, just, I mean, you get really close with your team, and they're your family too, and trying to help them through things or just celebrate all the good things as well.
Name some notable games that you've had the pleasure to be a part of as a coach.
That's a sour question coming from a T-Town guy. 2 years ago at Vandalia was so memorable. You know, the Sweet 16 game against the Wooden Shoes, and a lot of build up in that game, you know, because we had beat them in the Capital Classic Championship in their last year. But I told Coach Reeder, and I'd say it again, I'd switch those 2 wins if you'd like. That just the build up of that game, and you know, they had outstanding 2 senior leaders there, and Smith and Weber.
You could not fit any more people in that gym.
No, and we always go there in the summer to play. And so when we went back last summer, and you walk in, it just made my hair stand up, just reliving that night. You know, that was very special. You know, this past year, playing Nashville, number 2 in the state at the time, and beating them at the Benton Shootout, playing Pinckneyville in the signature game of their shootout last year and getting beaten a close game. We've had a chance to play some great teams over the years. Those are some of the best games. Yeah.
I tell you what, that game may have been one of the best, more anticipated games in the entire state of Illinois because of the level of talent between both teams. Giselle and Brian and Dawson and Flint, 4 of the best players on the court, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah, I don't want to forget when we won regionals, Coach Lackey's senior year, because Harrisburg had beat us 3 times that year out of 3, and we beat them at the Carmine regional that year. So that's another one that really sticks out.
One?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that real quick. Yes. Who is your biggest rival?
In conference, Carmine and El Dorado probably in multiple sports. El Dorado especially has become a big rival in football and basketball. And Carmine always has been. I mean, when we had the NEC, we were together, you know, for 80 plus years or whatever it was in that conference. So that's more of a friendly rivalry, though. I mean, a respectful one. We've always got along with their coaches and kids. Doesn't mean you don't want to lose to them, though.
Is there anything else about you that not a lot of people know?
Well, I grew up, both of my grandfathers were fishermen. My grandpa Mac, we called him, he would always take us to Canada fishing. And so I love to fish, love to golf and do that as much as I can. Love watching sports. I'm a huge Cub and Illini fan.
I like you already, Scott.
Celtics fan. That goes back all the way to Larry Bird. Anybody that tells me that Larry couldn't play in this day and age, I say no way. He'd find a way. But
he could play if he was 80 or 90 years old. I guarantee you that.
Very smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
Well, I didn't know if we were going to get to some of the better teams. We've been really blessed here with playing in like in the Capital Classic against all the great T-Town teams, Alney when they got third in state, Harrisburg when they won state. We've had a great chance, just like with you guys, with our schedule to play some just great teams that I didn't have a chance to do that when I was at Cumberland. We weren't good enough to do that, so I wanted to throw that in there too.
I'm glad
had a
you
chance
did.
to go against some great coaches.
The teams in this area have they're really competitive as well. That's a big deal.
Yes.
Do you have a best friend?
My wife would tell you that when we go places that nobody's a stranger to me. So I make friends usually pretty easy. Got a lot of them. I've been really blessed with, an extended family. My best friend's my wife, though. She's super. She was a sports person when she was in school. She played at Ren Lake basketball, so she understands what it's all about. And I married up. We'll say that.
Does family currently travel to a lot of your away games when you're coaching?
Yeah, it's tough for my family when they're an hour and a half north of here. And really, the Capital Classic in Lawrenceville, Red Hill, Flora when we play them. We intentionally scheduled the KZ Westfield game at KZ last year, and I had 50 plus
wow, that's awesome.
family members
What
there.
does that mean to you?
Oh, great. I mean, since they can't get down this way, because by the time, if it's a Friday night and they're at work and trying to get to El Dorado, which is another 45 minutes south of here, that's tough. So the one thing, though, that they have done is we have one of our local radio stations broadcast it.
Yeah.
And so my mom, especially the last couple of years, has had living room fulls of family and friends watching our game, yelling at the TV.
Really?
So that's where digital media is great. When they can't come, they can, watch on TV. But we had a lot of them there at Vandalia. Some of the coaches I've always admired, Randy Bishop, great guy. He coached at Martinsville when I was playing at Cumberland, and been at Lawrenceville. Super supportive. Down south here, Randy Smith Peters from Harrisburg, Kevin Toney that used to be at West Frankfort, Joe Hossman, all guys in the River Conference that when they're playing the young guy from Fairfield were super supportive of me. Phil Lieb is a great friend as well at Flora. So that's the thing. There's a lot of great guys out there in the coaching business that I look up to.
If you weren't coaching or teaching, what would you be doing?
Well, I always wanted to be a professional athlete, or what I got into golf in college, and the pro golfers just amaze me at how good they are, and I love to travel, so they get to go all over. If I was good enough professionalized, I actually might pick that sport. It's really neat. But I've always, I teach anatomy and physiology, I've always had interest in sports medicine. So physical therapy or occupational therapy, something like that, I think I would have probably went towards. I like people and helping. So
what advice would you give to young kids about wanting to be a coach?
Be willing to put in the time, because it's a lot. Make sure that you can handle adversity too, because not everybody's going to like what you decide. There's only 5 spots. It's not like football where you have 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and special teams. So it's hard sometimes, knowing who to play and whatnot, and especially the last couple of years, we could have went 9 or 10 deep, and with different matchups, and not really lost much. And it's never, you have to understand too that when you're taking that kid out, it's somebody's kid, so they're not always going to understand, this or that, or why you did it, or what was it practice the day before, and that's not always easy either for coaches. But you just gotta trust in what you're doing, and trust your assistants and their advice, and there's way more positives than negatives with coaching. I mean, over the years, it's so neat to see my former players come in and say hi, or just talk to the team, or
Building a relationship is key.
Oh, and you're so proud of them too.
Yeah.
And what they become.
Absolutely.
I'm walking the dog at 10:30 the other night, and I have an elderly neighbor that tripped his medical alert bracelet, and one of my former players, Craig Zerlini, pulls up in the police truck. Hey, coach, how's it going? And that's really neat. It's like, hey, coach, how's it going?
Yes.
And the mutual respect that you have for them, and just see what they are as adults is really cool.
In closing, Scott, is there anything else you want to share or mention that we didn't talk about?
Oh man, thanks for letting me do it. I've enjoyed all the interviews that you've done with all the other people that I'm either come into contact with or just getting to learn myself. It's been fun. You know, if somebody would have said you're gonna, you know, be a varsity coach for 15 years and whatnot when I started, I don't know if I'd have said that or not. I'm like, I don't know if I'll last that long, you know. But like I said, way more positive experience than negative. It's overall been a lot of fun.
Scott, I appreciate you agreeing to do this with me because you're a great friend of me and you're a great guy in general. So you're a great coach as well. Scott, I appreciate your time. Thank you for telling me your story and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thank you.